Hi, I'm Patricia Adams Farmer, pastor of Millersburg Christian Church, and I'm offering a sermon online during the coronavirus as our church practices love for one another by not meeting, but we have our services on Zoom instead. But here is my sermon for March 29th, and it is entitled Dem Bones. It is based on the Hebrew Bible lesson from our lectionary, Ezekiel 37, verses 1 through 14. I'll let you read the scriptures at home, but I'm sure you can remember that children's song, Dem Bones. Dem Bones. Inspired by our lectionary passage, it starts out, Ezekiel connected dim, dry bones. Now hear the word of the Lord. Toe bone connected to the foot bone connected to the heel bone connected to the ankle bone, and all the way up to the top of the head bone. Yeah, and now imagine those dry bones dancing and singing. Can you just see it all coming together, all dim bones rejoining and rejoicing? As the writer Bruce Epperly says, imagine the cemeteries emptied of their occupants and dead relatives showing up for dinner. As I ponder this wonderful vision of Ezekiel, I am aware that this is more than just a fun song. This is a prophet's vision of which expresses the fears and hopes of the nation of Judah. Don't you know the Jews in the diaspora must have wondered, will the nation whose leadership is exiled in Babylon ever rise again? Will Jerusalem, the city of God, ever be restored or remain in ruins? But, if that's all it's about, a hopeful story from 2,500 years ago, why bother? Why bother to read it today? Well, that's because it's also about today, especially today, given the coronavirus ravaging the planet. We wonder, when will things ever be restored? Just as the Jews wondered if their life and culture and sense of identity would ever be fully restored again. Is there life in these dead bones? Will resurrection look like what? What will it look like? Surely there will be dancing and singing once again after this is over, but there will also be grief and change and loss. We will be different, just as the Jews had to prepare themselves for a different world when they returned. So in our situation, loss and grief and economic distress will take its toll, so we will all be changed in a way. New life, resurrection, restoration does not mean more of the same. We will have to adapt. And that's the word for the day, adapt. As we are adapting right now by having church services on Zoom, and I'm doing my sermons on YouTube. Adaptation is not all bad, though. It's just different. And we can help stimulate our creativity by adapting, and it can help jolt us out of old, dead ways of living and behaving. Recently, I was given this lovely gift of this dragonfly necklace. This dragonfly is very dear to me. It's known in many cultures as a symbol of transformation and adaptation. Now, these two qualities go together. We cannot experience new life and resurrection without the ability to adapt. Dragonflies remind us of this important wisdom. And we have a dragonfly theme in our kitchen. I have this beautiful dragonfly backsplash over my stove, and it really speaks to me when I'm cooking. And I've also spent hours studying the dragonflies at the magnificent Dragonfly Sanctuary in the Missouri Botanical Gardens in St. Louis. Oh, dragonflies are truly magnificent and mystical creatures. Now, these colorful insects, also known as odonata, transform from larva to winged creature very slowly, spending from 2 to 6 years in water. Can you imagine? In comparison to their cousins, the butterfly, the butterfly's only in one season, as opposed to 2 to 4, 6 years. Wow. Most of the lives of dragonflies are spent in this larva development stage, reminding us that transformation takes time. Mirroring our own lives in this world, maturity takes time, and we never really quit growing and developing, do we? Dragonflies also have huge perspectives. How many times do you wish you had eyes in the back of your head? Well, dragonflies do, or rather, they can see 360 degrees around them since their heads are mostly eyes. And on top of that, they have this unique ability to change directions in an instant. They have wings that allow them to fly backwards and forwards or stay in place. Dragonflies can fly forward at about 100 body lengths per second and backwards at about 3 body lengths per second. They are also capable of hovering in the air for about a minute. So they can adapt and change quickly in order to catch their prey, which, by the way, are usually pesky mosquitoes, another reason to revere the dragonfly. All this has helped the dragonfly survive from ancient times, and I mean ancient times. Their fossils go back 325 million years ago. And if we want our species to live long and prosper, then we might want to remember that adaptation and transformation go hand in hand during times of crises and change. This is especially true as we face the climate crisis. The next generation is going to take the dead bones, the dead-end ways of living on this earth, and with the help of God, breathe new life into the world. I wish I could live to be 150 or 200 just to see how very changed everything will surely have to be. In Ezekiel's day, they didn't have a climate crisis or a coronavirus crisis or a Wall Street crisis, but theirs was just as serious and life-threatening, as they had been invaded by a huge empire called Babylon. They were dispersed, and they lost everything. And it was clearly a day of crisis, dislocation, loss, and change. And this vision of Ezekiel gave the Jews hope, a divine vision of hope and restoration. Today, we need hope too, don't we? We need hope that life will one day be restored, that our planet will be restored, that our health and well-being will be restored, that our economic system will be restored, but perhaps not restored in the same way, but in a new way that meets the needs of our ever-changing present. Because we must learn to adapt and transform old ways and dead-end habits. And one of the ways I hope we will transform our society is with a new vision of our interconnectedness. When we speak in our song, Dem Bones, about the knee bone connected to the thigh bone and so on, we can imagine all these disconnected, dry, dusty bones finding their natural connections once again. Only then does the breath of God resurrect them. And this virus, this horrible coronavirus, if it has taught us anything, it has taught us how very interconnected and interdependent we are. Only when we are able to adapt to this new vision of our connection and interdependence with one another will we learn that when one group of people suffers, it affects us all. So this vision of Ezekiel gives us hope that we can and will rise again, finding our connections with one another across the globe, learning to enlarge our perspective beyond our own nation state and see the whole picture, that we are part of one another, interdependent and all children of God, a God who desires not death but life, and who infuses the divine breath on all who are willing to see this vision, reconnect, rise, and dance once again. Amen.